Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. You're listening to our D&D game, and as always, I'm your host, the Dungeon Master, or DM for short. And the prologue for this one is that Greg's wife Greta goes missing. But Gamish, who is a tinker gnome who was killed, became a ghost, then possessed a warforged body, finds her. She was kidnapped by agents of the Temple of Elemental Evil. Gamish takes Greta home, where she is reunited with her husband and a child. The plot then to this one is that one by one, the PCs enter the Inn of the Welcome Wench. There is an air maiden. She looks like an angel, but isn't one. She has blonde hair, blue eyes, white feathery wings. She's a cleric who has felt drawn to this area for some reason, and her name is Eliza. There's a half dragon, half drow. He looks like a demon, but isn't one. His father was a red dragon, his mother was a dark elf. His name is Voltaris Yol. He's low on money and needs to go adventuring to make ends meet. Artie and Mad Dog have been in previous adventures. Uh, they look like identical twins. They're both werebears. Um, Artie has no scars, but thanks to an assassin named Celine, Mad Dog does have scars. He has a massive scar over his heart where he was stabbed and then later resurrected. Check out our earlier videos if you want more information on that. Um, in walks an adventurer who is a quarter elf, quarter gnome, quarter halfling, and a quarter human. The elves call her Ethel Hina, or just Hina for short. She is 4'4" and has blonde hair pulled back into a tight ponytail. She has eyes like crystals. She wears white robes with no sign of dirt on them whatsoever. And she immediately notices the two bears, but can't decide which one she thinks is more handsome. Two beings disguised as knights enter. One is female and named Amica. The other is male and named Legatus. Legatus. Amica's armor is rose gold, while Legatus looks like brass. They try to hide their features beneath hooded cloaks, but their glowing blue eyes are otherworldly and give them away. Gamish enters the Inn of the Welcome Wench, where he finds Arthur and Mad Dog sitting with the twin daughters of the tavern's owner. He sits at their table and they ask how he's doing. So he tells them about how someone from the Temple of Elemental Evil had kidnapped Greg's wife and he rescued her and so on and so forth. And the other PCs that have all been introduced now overhear this and offer to help deal with the Temple of Elemental Evil. So the new party prepares to leave the Inn of the Welcome Wench when in walks a tall, green skinned woman. And by tall, I mean 9 feet tall. Despite the fact that she looks like a half orc, she's actually quite beautiful, due in part from the fact that she is 1/8 storm giant on her father's side. She says, "Which one of you is the one they call Arthur?" Both Artie and Mad Dog say, "I am." And she says that she was told that Artor was a mighty warrior. She says they look like flowers to her, pretty, but easily crushed. So she decides to test their might by throwing a table at them. Gamish protects Hina, who in turn vanishes. And I might forget to mention her. She appears and disappears throughout the game. The Green Woman rushes Arthur and Mad Dog with her great axe. She almost hits them both. The two Golden Knights leap into action. As it turns out, they are actually young adult clockwork dragons. They are large-sized creatures who can become any object that is large-sized or smaller. So they have turned into medium-sized suits of armor to walk amongst humans undetected. Amica tackles the Green Woman, knocking her out into the street where a brawl starts up. Unfortunately, it's hard for low-level characters to hit each other. So it's a very long, very strange fight. Amica does more damage than anybody else, knocking the green stranger into a horse trough full of water. Arthur and Mad Dog both change into their werebear forms, and they're each 13 feet tall. The 9-foot Green Woman is pleasantly surprised. That's more like it, she says, as she attacks them each with her large great axe. She pins Mad Dog, which is no easy feat. Arthur, in the end, smashes a lantern, gets oil on his hands, and sets them on fire. His magic scabbard keeps him from taking damage, but he's able to punch the stranger, and she has a vulnerability to that. Bodger the blacksmith is leaning on a post nearby, watching all of this, and he yells at Arthur, saying, "Oi, not very heroic hitting a woman like that." Eliza the Air Maiden asks if Bodger thinks women are somehow lesser beings who can't take it. Bodger stammers, not seeing an easy way to win that argument. Gamish notices the green-skinned female is testing Arthur to determine his worthiness, and he correctly deduces that violence turns her on. Once the 13-foot tall bear has defeated the 9-foot tall green beauty, she is very interested in him. She says she can see why her father said he was a mighty warrior after all. Arthur asks who her father is anyways. She says King Oog. Arthur says, King Oog? When did that happen? While Oog's daughter explains the orc's policy of you keep what you kill, the Air Maiden talks with Voltaris Yol in the doorway of the inn. He's attracted to her. She asks if he's some sort of demon. He explains that he isn't, but doesn't explain too much because he wants to maintain an air of mystery. Amica asks Gamish what sort of being he is. He explains the whole Tinker Gnome ghost mechanical body thing to her. And while all of this is happening, Oog's daughter joins the party. And everybody gets ready to leave. But Greg the garlic farmer says he was hoping at least one adventurer would stay behind to guard the town. Amica volunteers to guard Greg and his wife, but Gamish quickly suggests her brother Legatus stay behind. Gamish seems to have a crush on Amica. So Legatus reluctantly stays behind, and everyone else heads out. Arthur leads the way to the moat house, explaining he already defeated everyone inside. Mad Dog notices a light in the front corner tower. So the PCs enter and go to where the giant spider used to be, and here a magic user named Hamish surprise attacks them, casts a spell, and Mad Dog seems to be banished. The other PCs go on that very same round attacking him, and Voltaris Yol, the half-dragon drow, decapitates the evil mage. His head rolls off to the side, still grinning, and promises the PCs they have not seen the last of him. Then they feed the head to a giant frog in the moat. The PCs make camp here for the night, and Arthur fights a giant crayfish and drags it back to the courtyard, where the half-dragon uses his breath weapon to start a massive bonfire. They cook the crayfish and eat it, then sleep. Gamish is the only one who doesn't need to sleep, so he stands guard. The PCs make camp here for the night. Arthur, oops, sorry. So Gamish stands guard. I'm sorry, I was at the wrong point in my notes. Hina asks Oog's daughter about her name. Oog's daughter says her name is Gabuk, which is an insult in Orcish, which literally means soft skin, but a better translation might be not a real orc. Hina thinks that it's sad that Gabuk's name is literally an insult. And Hina says that in Elvish, soft skin would be Maxa Hareva, and it would be considered a compliment, like telling someone they're beautiful. So Arthur sees his opportunity to start referring to the green woman as Maxa, or Max for short. And since it's been explained that this is a compliment, Arthur is flirting a little bit. Everybody else goes to bed, except for Gamish, of course. And the next morning, when they all wake up, they find Max spooning Arthur. And she has decided that he belongs to her, which for right now, Arthur has mistaken for a good thing. Everyone eats some more crayfish, then heads out. They get to a narrow road where a bunch of bandits had blocked the road earlier with a sort of a wagon train. After that, they arrive in a crappy little town called Nulb. Here they see a crappy hotel, a weird herbalist shop, a blacksmith with a rat-faced apprentice, and a warehouse/tavern on the docks full of pirates and ne'er-do-wells. Eliza, the air maiden, suggests they just pass through and not spend any time here more than they have to. The road leading from Nulb to the Temple of Elemental Evil is rutted and spotted with rank weeds, thistles, burrs, thorns, nettles, etc. Some foot and animal traffic has been using the track, but it is not a busy thoroughfare. As the player characters approach the temple area, the vegetation is disconcerting. Dead trees with a skeletal appearance, shrub growth, twisted and unnaturally colored, all unhealthy and sickly looking, or exceptionally robust and disgusting. The ruins of the temple's outer works appear as dark and overgrown mounds of gray rubble and blackish weeds. Skulls and bones of humans and humanoids gleam white here and there amidst the weeds. A grove of some oddly stunted and unhealthy looking usk trees still grows along the northern end of the former temple compound, and a stump of a tower juts up from the northeast corner of the shattered wall. The leprous gray temple, however, stands intact, its arched buttresses somehow obscene with their growth of climbing vegetation. Everything surrounding the place is disgusting. The myriad leering faces and twisting, contorted forms, writhing and posturing on every face of the temple, seem to jape at the obscenities they depict. The growth in the compound is rank and noisome. Thorns clutch, burrs stick, and crushed stems either emit foul stench or raise angry wheels on exposed flesh. Worst of all, however, is the pervading fear which seems to hang over the whole area, a smothering, clinging, almost tangible cloud of vileness and horror. Sounds seem distorted, either muffled and shrill or unnaturally loud and grating. The PC's eyes play tricks. They see darting movements out of the corner of their eyes just at the edge of vision. But when they shift their gaze towards such, of course, there is nothing there at all. They cannot help but wonder who or what made the maze of narrow paths through the weedy courtyard. What sort of thing would wander here and there around the ghastly edifice of evil without shrieking and gibbering and going completely mad? Yet the usual mundane sounds of their travel are accompanied only by the chorus of the winds, moaning through hundreds of temple apertures built to sing like doomed souls given over to demon kind, echoed by macabre croaks from the scattering, flapping, hopping, leering ravens. There is no doubt they have come to a place of ineffable evil. Still, it is most certainly a place for high adventure and untold treasure. It's time to draw weapons, check equipment, and set forth into the maze of peril that awaits them. So Gamish moves in until he's 120 feet away, then takes a shot at disadvantage with his steampunk gun. But he can't shoot through the narrow arrow slits. He's hitting the stone next to the slits. Amica transforms into what is basically Master Cycle Zero from Zelda, and the bear gets on. Eliza, the air maiden, gets on behind him, hugging him. Max is jealous and angry. As the bear and Eliza race towards the front door, the various men inside throw spears and shoot arrows. Voltaris Yol flies overhead to the tower, but gets hit by a spear, then an arrow, and is knocked out. He falls towards the ground as Maxa pulls an arrow out of her shoulder, heals, and gets to the front door. Arthur tells Amica to take care of Voltaris if she can. Maxa tells Eliza to stay away from her man. Just then, a trap is sprung and rocks fall. Everyone near the front door takes 1d12 points of rockfall damage and is stunned for the following round and blinded by a choking cloud of dust, which settles in 2 rounds. Meanwhile, the brigand leader dashes to his room, slams and bars the door, and enters the secret trap door. Gamish abandons his warforged body, and as a ghost, he flies into the tower and uses horrifying visage. The villains all make a saving throw. 16 of them run out of the tower in fear, while 8 stay and fight. Of the 8, several hit Eliza, killing her. But as an air maiden, she respawns out next to where the Warforged is. She's naked, and her old dead body still has all of her armor, weapons, etc., so she has to go loot her own body. Arthur and Max kill 2 of the 8 men who stayed to fight, while Hina appears and heals Voltaris Yol, then disappears again. Voltaris flies up to where the giant raven is on top of the tower and rolls a natural 20 trying to befriend it. Voltaris is suddenly far more interested in trying to keep this giant raven as a pet than anything else. Meanwhile, Amica transforms into armor, which Eliza dons. Together, they trudge through the battlefield, killing the men who are running away from Gamish. One by one, the party kills all the bad guys. Then they search the main room. There is little in the place other than the rude tables, benches, chairs, and stools. Heaps of old blankets and brown cloaks lie by the walls, and several sacks near them are filled with foodstuffs. On the tables are bottles of cheap wine, mostly consumed, knuckle bones, dirty plates and mugs, and nothing else. The brigands obviously live in this place, eating, sleeping, and gaming while awaiting further raids. Hanging from the rafters are various smoked meats, sausages, and bags of onions and herbs. All told, the provisions here can supply all the brigands for a full week. Under the ascending stone spiral staircase are 5 large barrels. The 2 largest contain water, the next 2 beer, The smallest, about 40 gallons, is nearly full of wine, the same sour, cheap stuff on the tables. A bale of blankets is stuffed under the stairs, evidently loot from some hapless merchant. Then they checked the north room. This place quartered 2 lieutenants and 3 sergeants. In addition to the 5 rough beds, the room contains a round table, 3 stools, a chest of drawers with a lantern on top, and nothing but old clothes and the like inside. A padlocked, iron bound oak chest is also here. Inside is a potion of healing, a sack of 300 electrum pieces, a jeweled dagger worth 250 gold pieces, and 4 bolts of silk worth 10d6 gold pieces each. Voltairus trades his common dagger for the jeweled one. The PCs then check the northeast room. This is the leader's private chamber. He has a comfortable bed heaped with quilts and pillows, a table and 2 chairs, a small desk and stool, a chest of drawers, and a padlocked iron box. On the table are a few pewter dishes, a bottle full of good brandy, and some slightly wrinkled apples. Inside the desk is some quills, an inkwell, and several sheets of parchment. One sheet bears a list of possible victims, including the jeweler in Hamlet. The other sheets are blank. The chest of drawers conceals a short sword with a topaz pommel, total value 500 gold pieces, a suit and hooded cloak of brown velvet trimmed with fur, worth 200 gold pieces, plus normal clothing and odds and ends. The iron chest is trapped with poison needles, which project to either side of the lid when it is raised, but Voltairus detects this and uses his blade to trigger them harmlessly. Inside are 384 copper, 556 silver, 106 electrum, 277 gold, and 91 platinum pieces. One flagstone is lifted to reveal a bronze ring set into the floor. Voltairus notices it and pulls on it. It is mechanically linked to the trapdoor beneath, which is counterbalanced to raise and lower with ease, but little noise. The shaft below is about 3 feet square and leads into a 10-foot by 15-foot room where the PCs find the leader. After killing him with ease, they find a small flat silver box worth 125 gold, containing a jeweled necklace worth 2,400 gold. Voltairus finds a cloak of elven kind, a large pouch with a leather strap for shoulder slinging, containing 50 tiny pearls worth 10 GP each, and a leather bag containing 50 platinum pieces. The PCs also find a locked bronze coffer containing 3 potions of speed, healing, and water breathing. They also find a locked iron box containing 800 gold pieces and 200 electrum pieces. And that was it. That was all we did today. So the epilogue was that the PCs bar the door and take a long rest. As far as the DM's notes thing that I like to do, this was very difficult to run. We don't play D&D as much as we do other games, and having to fight so many guys, it was very difficult. If you follow our channel, you know that the video before this was basically a total party kill. These guys, just wiped out the last party. That's why we had to introduce basically all new characters for this one. I told everybody they could play weird stuff, and so that's why, you've got like a ghost and a half dragon and an air maiden and, all that. Even the air maiden with the ability to respawn, which by the way is a house rule. I know I'm running that wrong. That's just how we prefer to do it. Um, but at any rate, even with her ability to respawn, she was still frustrated that she had to respawn without her gear. And she didn't even know how she was going to make it up to the tower again to get her stuff back. She just thought she was going to keep dying forever, basically, you know. So yeah, this was very difficult. Um, so I think this is going to be one of those games my players are basically never going to forget. You know, I think they're always going to remember what a hassle this tower was. At any rate, in the end, you know, when they finally won at the end, they were pretty excited. Um, and they liked, you know, they liked that they had finally beaten it. I hope that you also enjoyed hearing the adventure. If so, be sure to hit like, subscribe, all that jazz, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye.